Hi all. In this section, we are going to discuss about final modules topic laser. Fiber optics already we have done the PPT lecture. So now it is laser. What is the expansion of laser? How it can be produced? Different types of lasers. What are the properties? And then applications. All these are covered in this section. So what is laser? Laser is light amplification by stimulated emission of radiation. So here amplification and stimulated emission, both the terms are very important. Laser is actually, it is a device that amplifies light and produces a highly directional, high intensity beam that is monochromatic and coherent. Its first form was Maser. Maser was known as microwave amplification by stimulated emission of radiation. But in laser, it is not microwave, it is amplification will happen in the visible region. In 1917, Einstein predicted the possibility of a different type of emission process which is known as stimulated emission. But a theoretical explanation was given by Shallow and Townes in 1958. It has many applications in holography, communication, medical field, etc. The first laser developed was Ruby, which was developed by T. Meiman. Laser action has been obtained in variety of materials like liquids, ionized gas, dyes, semiconductors, etc. So what is actually the difference between an ordinary light and a laser? An ordinary light like our tube light or a bulb, it will emit a light in all the direction. That means it is not at all directional. But for a laser beam, it will emit light only in one direction, single direction. So it is very much directional in nature. And ordinary light's intensity is very less. But here for laser, it is highly intense beam. Ordinary light is not at all coherent. Light rays may be going in with different phase. There may not be any constant phase difference between them. But in laser, all the beams are coherent. They are all in phase. Ordinary light consists of many wavelengths, so it is known as polychromatic. Whereas laser consists of a single light. As in our lab, we have done red color laser, using red color laser. So it consists of only one wavelength, isn't it? So it is monochromatic. Ordinary light, angular spread will be more. Angular spread, it will spread in all the directions. It will be more in ordinary light, but in laser it will be very less. The theory behind ordinary light is spontaneous emission, whereas in laser it is stimulated emission. Then ordinary light, examples are sunlight, mercury vapor lamp, etc. Laser, for that it is helium neon laser or carbon dioxide laser, ruby laser, etc. Laser can be classified depending upon its medium where we are producing this laser. If it is in a solid material or using a liquid material or using a gaseous material, there are different types of laser. For a solid type laser, ruby is an example. For liquid laser, helium neon is an example. These two we have to study in detail. Gaseous laser, liquid laser, it is example is liquid dye laser. Liquid dye. For gaseous state, it is helium neon or carbon dioxide, etc. These two, ruby and helium neon, we have to study in detail. Then, depending upon energy levels, we can classify lasers into 2-level laser, 3-level laser, and 4-level. That we'll discuss in detail in ruby and helium neon. Then, depending upon the type of pumping used, external energy supply, that is pumping, we can classify it into optical pumping, electric discharge pumping, then electric pumping, chemical reaction, etc. Then what are some of the important characteristics or properties of laser? Already we have discussed it in the difference between ordinary light and laser. But in detail, if there is a question like what are the characteristics or properties of laser, you have to give this details. It is directionality, first one. Conventional light source emit light in all the directions, so it is less directional in nature and its angular spread is more. But in laser, it will emit light in only one direction, so it will travel in as a narrow beam, so it will be highly directional and its divergence will be very less. Monochromaticity means laser light contain only single wavelength. And then coherence. It refers to the constancy and periodicity of the phase of a wave. Laser is having same amplitude, frequency and constant phase difference. So as a result of its high coherence, it will result in extremely high power. Then equations for calculating coherent time is given, and then number of waves is also given there. Intensity, what is power by area, it is also given there. You just go through it. Then laser will be a focused and collimated beam. Then what is actually the theory behind laser? For that we have to study what are the kind of interactions of radiation with matter. This theory was given by Einstein. Interaction of radiation with matter can happen in three different ways. First one is absorption. First one is known as absorption. Second one is known as spontaneous emission. And the third one is known as stimulated emission. These are the three stimulated emission. These are the three kind of interaction which radiation can have with matter. Okay. Then what is meant by absorption? Absorption means matter means it consists of atoms, molecules, etc. And atoms or molecules in turn they will consist of electrons, that you know. And mostly atoms in molecules or electrons in atom will like to reside in lower energy level. Lower energy level, we can take it as a ground state energy which is having an energy E1. Suppose this is the first excited state which is having an energy E2. Normally it will reside in the stable state, that is ground state. But if we are giving some external energy in the form of pumping or something like that, external energy or radiation incident on such a system, photon, if photon is incidenting on such a system, and if this photon's energy h nu is equivalent to the difference between the two energy levels E2 minus E1, only then these electrons or atoms can absorb this photon and they may get excited to the higher energy level. That process, they can absorb this energy and can excited to the higher energy state. This process is known as absorption, or its another name is excitation. So this is the process. And the photon's frequency should be equal to E2 minus E1 divided by H, isn't it? Only then absorption will take place. So what is the definition of absorption or excitation? Actually the full name of absorption is stimulated absorption. It is a stimulated process. That means external energy or photon is required for this process, or induced absorption or induced excitation. So the definition is, it is a process of transferring an electron in an atom or an atom in a molecule from its ground level to the higher energy level by absorbing external energy is known as excitation. Okay, and the condition is that excitation will happen only if the external energy is equal to the energy gap between the two levels involved in the transition. Stimulant means the source which is giving energy to this electron is known as a stimulant. So it is clear that excitation or absorption will be always a stimulated process because it requires an external photon. So how will you write this entire process in a single equation? Atom was first residing in the ground state or the stable state. So we can write it as simply atom. And if it interacts with a photon, that means atom plus photon will give you an excited atom, that is atom star. Excited atom is represented as atom star. Then how many number of atoms will be able to undergo this type of absorption? That is given by rate of absorption by Einstein. Rate of absorption means rate of absorption from energy level 1 to 2. So it is R1 to 2 will be proportional to how many number of atoms are there. So let it be N1 number of atoms are there. So there is a chance it is proportional to N1, and also it depends upon the density of light incidenting on it. So it is a rho of nu, isn't it? So rearranging or removing this proportionality sign, it will be R12 is equal to some constant B. B is used for all stimulated process. Einstein used the coefficient B, and all spontaneous process, he has used the coefficient A. So as it is a stimulated process, it requires an external agency, it will be B, and the process is from energy level 1 to 2, it will be B1 to 2 N1 rho nu. This is Einstein's relation for rate of absorption, and this is known as Einstein's coefficient. Okay. Then comes next process will be spontaneous emission. So now the atom has been undergone a process absorption, and it is now residing in the higher energy level. But we know that the higher energy levels are always highly unstable, because its energy levels lifetime will be only 10 raised to minus 8 range, isn't it? So they will not reside there for a long time. Then what will happen? It can come back to its stable state only by emitting the extra energy. So it will emit the extra energy as delta E, which will be equal to E2 minus E1 in the form of a photon's energy, and it will come back to the ground state. This process does not require any external agency. This will be done by the atom spontaneously. So this process is known as spontaneous emission. Okay. So this kind of process is known as spontaneous emission, where a photon, atom will emit a photon in its excited state without the influence of any external agency and come back to the ground state. So how will you write this entire process in a single equation like this? Atom was firstly in the excited state. So it was atom star simply gives, without any external agency, it simply gives an atom in the ground state, plus it will emit a photon, isn't it? So this is the equation. Then how will you write the rate of spontaneous emission? Rate of spontaneous emission will be proportional to how many number of atoms are there in the excited state. So it is proportional to N2, and as it does not require any external agency, it does not depend upon this rho value density of photon. It simply depends upon N2. So R spontaneous will be equal to, so it is a spontaneous process, coefficient used is A. As process is from 2 to 1, it is A 2 to 1 N2. This is Einstein's relation for spontaneous emission, and A to 1 is known as Einstein's coefficient. Then by spontaneous emission, we will only get incoherent beams. Why? Different number of, large number of atoms may be there in the excited state, and these atoms, different atoms may be emitting photons in different directions, and they may be coming back to the ground state. Some may be emitting photon in this direction, some may be emitting in this direction, some may be emitting in this direction. So there is no such kind of a phase correlation between the beams. So as a result of spontaneous emission, you will get only incoherent beam. Okay, so this is actually the principle behind normal ordinary light source. Next comes the third one, and is the principle behind laser, and it is stimulated emission. What is meant by stimulated emission? As it is emission, atoms will be residing in the higher energy level, of course, but it requires an external agency for it to come back to the ground state. So if we are supplying an external agency, a photon h nu, it will trigger, or it will act as a stimulant for this atom to emit a photon of same kind. It will come back to the ground state by emitting a photon of same kind. Same kind means its direction will be the same, its energy, its intensity, its frequency, all will be the same as that of the stimulant. So as a result of stimulated emission, you are getting, of one atom you are getting two photons. These two photons can act as stimulant for two other atoms, isn't it? And they will give you a net effect of 4 photons. That 4 photons can trigger another 4 atoms, and resulting in 8 photons, and so on. So this is stimulated emission process. Here it is the emission of photon by an excited atom or molecule with the help of an external agency. Okay, so if the number of electrons in the upper energy level is E2 is large, then one primary photon can trigger an avalanche of secondary photons. So it is an intensive, you will get an intensified beam of coherent light. Actually, it is the principle behind laser. Then how will you write the equation? Equation was atom. Firstly, it was in the excited state, atom star, and with reaction with a photon, it will give you a ground state atom plus 2 photons. This is the equation for stimulated emission in single sentence. Then rate of stimulated emission will be proportional to number of atoms in the excited state and the density of photon drawn you. So RST, we can write it as it will be equal to, as it is a stimulated process, it will be B2 to 1 N2 rho nu. This is Einstein's relation for rate of stimulated emission, and this B21 is known as Einstein's coefficient. So next topic is Einstein's coefficient. It is in detail given in the note. You just go through it. What is the definition for this one? B21, B12, A12, etc. Okay. So B12 or B21, we will just simply say it B12. What was that? B12 was for stimulated absorption. So it is the probability per unit time per energy density for absorption of radiation. That is known as B12. So as a result of absorption, what will happen? Number of atoms in the excited state will increase. The next term was Einstein's coefficient was next one was A21. What was A21? A21 was for spontaneous emission. So it is the probability of emission per unit time only. It does not depend upon the density, isn't it? So it is the probability of emission per unit time. Then coefficient of stimulated emission was B21. It is the probability of emission per unit time per energy density. Then ratio of spontaneous to stimulated emission was given by an equation. It is R is equal to E raised to H nu by KT minus 1. It is a ratio between spontaneous to stimulated emission, where H nu is also known as E2 minus E1, energy difference between the energy levels, and this K is Boltzmann's constant, T is temperature. Then what are the differences between spontaneous and stimulated emission? It is given in this note. We have already discussed it. Just note it down because it is an important topic. Difference between spontaneous and stimulated emission. Spontaneous emission does not require an external agency, but stimulated emission, it requires an external triggering photon. Spontaneous emission, we cannot control it from outside. It is a random process. But stimulated emission, as it requires a stimulant, we can control it and we can make it as a regular process. Spontaneous emission will give you incoherent polychromatic beam, but in stimulated, it will give you coherent monochromatic beam. Spontaneous emission cannot be multiplied with chain reaction, but here is a chance for chain reaction because this first photon can trigger another one, then net effect 2 photons are there. This 2 can give rise to 4 photons, 4 can give rise to 8 photons, and so on. So it can result in a chain reaction. For spontaneous emission, intensity depends only on number of atoms. Here, it not only depend upon number of atoms, it also depends upon the number of incident photon. Spontaneous emissions spectrum will be broad and wide, but for stimulated, it will be narrow and sharp. Equations are also given. So these are the topics or main principle behind laser action. So that's all for today. Next day we will move on to the important requisites, or what are the conditions required for a laser action to take place. Thank you.